Well, U.S. government officials urging CARICOM leaders tonight to work together to address the negative impact of climate change as they pledge resources, financial and technical support to assist. Now, the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, recognizing that small island developing states like the Bahamas are in the danger zone, as he says major countries are being pushed to adapt to the environmental changes.
A stronger voice than people think because of the impact of climate on this region. I mean, you know, you're not the contributors to the problem. You didn't create this problem, but you feel it, and it's going to have a profound impact depending on what big countries, us among them, decide to do. So we're pushing, President Biden is pushing very, very hard to demand accountability from the largest economies of the world.
And that push is an aggressive one, according to Special Presidential Envoy on Climate Change, John Kerry. Kerry will address the CARICOM leaders at this week's meeting, underscoring the need for action. He says he agrees with regional leaders, including Prime Minister Philip Davis, that when it comes to climate change, talk is cheap.
I agree completely. We're not looking for talk. We want action. And the largest economies of the world are divided a little bit. You know, we in Glasgow and in Paris agreed to standards that would keep 1.5 degrees alive as a limit on the warming of the planet. But unfortunately, not every big emitting country in the world is on a track to do that. Now, in Glasgow and in Sharm el-Sheikh, we were able to, according to the International Energy Agency, all the promises made, all the plans put on the table, all the new initiatives, if they're implemented, would by 2050 limit the Earth's temperature increase to 1.7 degrees.
And it's those promises that Secretary Kerry says must be kept to be a catalyst for change. But the pace of that change, he says, comes with a price.
We need to pick up the pace. But we're all in this together. We can't have some big economy somewhere in the world saying, well, we're going to go off on this tangent, and you guys owe us, you know, the space to be able to do that. The problem is Mother Nature, you know, the atmosphere doesn't measure who put it in or where it is. It's the total amount that's there. And that's what has to drive our decision making. We've got to live up to what the scientists are telling us is necessary to accomplish this job.
Prime Minister Philip Davis, while at every global opportunity has addressed climate change and its negative impact on the Bahamas, he's also pushed for carbon credits to be utilized as an incentive for major countries to reduce their emissions.
But in our home, we are left with the grief and devastation, with entire communities destroyed, and with the high debt burdens associated with recovery. And perhaps worst of all, with the understanding that the next Category 5 storm is likely to arrive sooner rather than later.
Carbon credits was also expected to be integrated into the FTX exchange, but since its fallout, can confidence in the market be regained?
Some problems with the way it was implemented earlier, and it left a bad taste in some people's mouths. But on the other hand, it's given us a framework for what we need to do to make it work. We need strong environmental integrity. We don't want greenwashing. We don't want double counting. We want these to be credits that can absolutely be measured, and there's real accountability and transparency. We're working on that right now with environmental groups, with a lot of stakeholders at the table, so that everybody's being listened to and we can come up with a protocol that works. I'm very confident about its ability to be a contribution to the effort. It's not going to solve the whole problem, but it could bring money, capital to the table that can then be used to help in the Bahamas or in other parts of the Caribbean for those countries that can't otherwise deploy certain things. This could help provide the seed capital.
Now, Secretary Kerry telling Eyewitness News that while the U.S. is also a major contributor to the negative impacts of climate change, he says they're willing and have started the work to reduce its impact.
The misinformation out of the way, getting the purposeful distortions out of the way, getting big companies that don't want to change to become part of the solution, not part of the problem. And we've got to come together around a very clear set of priorities that are achievable. They're not going to bankrupt companies. They're not going to put people out of work. They're actually going to create more jobs. They're actually going to open up unbelievable opportunities in the economies of the world. I mean, this transition, look, a couple of years ago in the United States, the fastest growing job was wind turbine technician. The third fastest growing job was solar panel installer. There are jobs to be, to be taken on in this transition.